After 8 months of a seemingly strong long-distance relationship, my 22M boyfriend dropped three shocking ultimatums. Move in with me, drive him 2 hours daily, or accept an open relationship. I never enjoyed sex, he claimed as he ghosted me for days. Was I the toxic one? I am having a very difficult time processing everything that has occurred in my relationship. I want to be fair and objective, but it is challenging to see things clearly when you are personally involved. I am 25 years old and male, my boyfriend is 22 years old and male, and we have been together for 8 months. We have been in a long-distance relationship the entire time, approximately 2.5 hours apart. I am in medical school, and he has been working hard to gain admission to graduate school. Overall, our relationship has had many positive moments. When we are together in person, things are usually wonderful. I would estimate that 95% of those days have been enjoyable. I am generally a go-with-the-flow individual, but I have been actively working on expressing my feelings more, which is something I did not do in past relationships. As our relationship became more serious, I wanted to establish better communication and emotional honesty. Month-by-month breakdowns. Month 1. I hosted a house party and introduced him to my friends. Everything went smoothly and everyone got along well. Later that night, he drank excessively and blacked out. I took care of him and did not make a big deal out of it. It felt like one of those situations that just happens sometimes when people consume alcohol. We officially began dating after this. Month 2. We attended a music festival together with some of my friends. Once again, we had a fantastic time, but he ended up blacking out again, and I had to take him home early, which meant that we missed the after party. I did not shame him or become angry, but I started to worry about his drinking habits. Around this time, we also had our first serious discussion about sexual boundaries. He is a bottom and expressed that he does not like using condoms. I informed him that I was uncomfortable having unprotected sex unless we were both tested, especially since he mentioned not using condoms in past encounters. It took a few months, along with some emotional discussions, before he eventually agreed to get tested. I thought it was a fairly normal and healthy boundary to establish, and I tried to handle it calmly and without judgment. Month 5. Things had been going well. We began to open up more about sex. I shared that I am a bit kinkier and enjoy exploring more, while he tends to prefer more straightforward sex as a bottom. I attempted to be a top, but I struggled with nerves and self-consciousness. Despite that, I was committed to making it work and wanted to meet his needs. We explored some of the kinks I enjoyed, but I also felt pressure to focus solely on what he was interested in, and I did not feel like he was as open to compromise or exploration. Month 6. This is when things started to change. I noticed him becoming distant. I brought up wanting to communicate more during the week, just simple things like more texting or calling to stay connected. When we FaceTimed to discuss it, he became quite defensive. I felt like I was just expressing a desire for closeness, but he reacted as if I were accusing or attacking him. I ended up apologizing in order to maintain peace. We did end up texting more afterward, which I considered a small victory, even though the conversation was difficult. He accompanied me to my medical school prom, but once again he drank too much and blacked out. That night was different, it became a breaking point. The following day he opened up and told me he had been drinking heavily, even drinking and driving with open containers. That frightened me. I told him how proud I was that he confided in me and that I supported him completely. I also encouraged him to seek local resources since I was not physically there to provide daily support. During this time, I was making a greater effort to meet his sexual needs. However, he grew cold and distant. He would say he did not feel clean, did not want to engage in anything, or simply was not in the mood. That was acceptable, and I did not pressure him, but it was difficult to feel as though I was not even given a chance to improve. I even stopped watching pornography and masturbating because I felt it was negatively impacting my performance and intimacy with him. I genuinely wanted to be there for him, but even when I felt confident and ready, he showed no interest. We ended up engaging in activities focused on my pleasure, but I did not want to push him beyond his comfort level. Month 8, where it all fell apart. We had planned for him to move in with me during the summer before he commenced graduate school. He said he wanted to work full-time 40 hours at Starbucks, commute 2 hours daily, and participate in an unpaid apprenticeship. I expressed that I was saddened, not angry, because I had envisioned this summer as a time to truly connect both emotionally and sexually. During the summer, most medical students leave town, so I would be alone, and I was really looking forward to spending time with him, preparing meals, hiking, and simply being close. I was hoping for more balance, perhaps 30 to 40 hours of work to create space for us. Instead of having a conversation, he reacted with hostility. He accused me of being controlling, claimed he would be broke, and insisted he was not going to be my servant, among other things. I was taken aback. My intention was to share my feelings, not to impose demands. I had already offered to cover rent and utilities and told him I could assist with food or other expenses if needed. I was not trying to control him. I was attempting to support him and preserve time for our relationship. I later suggested an alternative via text, staying at my mother's house in Massachusetts. It is spacious, quiet, and close to my friends and family, and he would have better job opportunities there. It had worked very well for my brother and his girlfriend during their stay. I thought it might resolve many of the logistical issues and bring us closer. After making this suggestion, he ghosted me for 5 days. No reply, no response, nothing, even after I suggested FaceTiming to talk it out the following day. If he had texted me saying he needed space, I would have completely respected that, but ghosting me for 5 days seemed extraordinarily disrespectful in an 8-month relationship. The fallout. Out of nowhere, he sent me a blank Snapchat. I replied, "Now you snap me after ignoring me for days." He stated he had been waiting for me to text something sensible. He then told me he had never enjoyed sex in the relationship, that I was selfish, and that he had never felt even a little bit pleased. I was blindsided. We had so few opportunities to be intimate due to the distance, and every time I asked him afterward if he felt good, he responded affirmatively. He even experienced orgasm during those moments. I thought we were building toward greater intimacy with time, not falling apart. I sent him a text apologizing and shared that pornography had been an issue for me in the past, and I was working diligently to change. I just wanted him to understand that I was trying and that I cared. The final FaceTime. I opened up about everything, explaining how I was dealing with my own issues, particularly the issue of pornography, which was something he had never known about, and how I was working hard to become a better partner. I told him how hurtful the ghosting had been and how I just wanted to have a mature conversation about our future. He told me that I had 8 months to inform him about my pornography issue, but I did not feel that was fair, given that he never mentioned his alcohol problem until it became serious. He presented me with 3 ultimatums. 1. He must move in with me in my state, or the relationship cannot continue. 2. I must drive him to and from work every day, a total of 2 hours to drop him off and 2 more to pick him up in order to bond. 3. Once he begins graduate school, he wishes to have an open relationship. I was taken aback. I tried to explain that I had only suggested living with my mother to simplify things and spare him from an exhausting commute. I did not realize it would trigger past trauma for him, living with an ex and feeling trapped. However, he never disclosed that to me until now. I was not trying to force him, I merely wanted to discuss it as partners. But instead of bringing it up with me, he allowed resentment to build and then reacted explosively. Reflection. He harbors a lot of feelings internally, and when I attempt to address an issue, he either shuts down or explodes. I feel as though I am constantly apologizing, even when I approach situations gently or with good intentions. He claims that I argue and do not satisfy him sexually, yet he rarely provides me with direct feedback or helps me understand how we can grow together. How am I expected to address issues if he will not communicate with me about what is bothering him? He compared our arguments while playing Apex Legends to our relationship problems. Sure, I get intense when we play competitive games, I am very competitive, and it is my greatest flaw, but he consistently insists on playing ranked matches at a high-level top 5–10% of players, rather than playing a more casual game like Minecraft. I do not believe it is fair to equate my criticisms while trying to win a video game with our relationship and how we communicate since they are fundamentally different. Additionally, when I realized he was hurt during a gaming session, I stopped the game, apologized, and attempted to talk. He refused to engage and instead built up resentment and went straight to bed. If he shuts down whenever he is offended or his feelings are hurt, how can I work to resolve the issue? I would take his feelings seriously, yet he becomes quiet and withdraws, and when I express my problems, he reacts as though I am personally attacking him when I am attempting to function as a team. He keeps his issues to himself, which somehow feels like my fault even when I provide him with comfort. I feel as though I am always cast as the antagonist, even when I strive to communicate maturely and compromise. He shared my texts with his best friends who claimed I was controlling. However, he did not come to me to discuss it. That feels deeply unfair because it is our relationship, not that of my friends or his friends. My friend also supported me, but that holds little weight since we are supposed to be a team resolving these matters, not ghosting each other and referring to friends. His friend likely does not know about the ultimatums he presented me, so I believe that would change her perspective on who is being controlling, as I would never do that to him, not even regarding the alcohol issue, unless it became truly serious. I have made tremendous efforts to make this work emotionally, sexually, logistically. I have acknowledged my flaws and mistakes. However, I do not feel like I am receiving the same in return. Additional concern: drinking again. One thing that really unsettled me was that, during this call, he mentioned that he planned to start drinking again and insisted that he had never had a problem to begin with. This was perplexing because he had been the one who initially told me he was drinking daily, sometimes even drinking and driving with open containers, and that it was becoming problematic. I had encouraged him and praised his decision to abandon that lifestyle. Now he seemed to be backpedaling and implying that I was overreacting. I stated that I was not trying to control him, but I was concerned because he had admitted it was an issue. He dismissed my concern and appeared irritated that I even brought it up, despite being the one who broke down in tears over it after blacking out at prom. Now I find myself in a dilemma. Am I overthinking all of this? Was I too controlling even though my intentions were good? Is his communication style merely different, or is it manipulative? I do not feel like we are functioning as a team. I seek accountability on both sides and healthy, open communication. Feelings and issues are not black and white, but rather a gray area where both sides can improve. However, I am unsure if that is even possible in this relationship any longer. I simply need an outside perspective. Summary: I, 25 years old and male, have been in a long-distance relationship with my boyfriend, 22 years old and male, for 8 months. Things were wonderful in person, but communication issues, mismatched sexual needs, and his drinking began to create tension. I supported him through his alcohol problems and worked diligently to meet him halfway emotionally and sexually, even opening up about my own struggles, such as a pornography addiction. When I expressed my desire for more quality time this summer, he accused me of being controlling and ghosted me for 5 days. He later claimed he had never enjoyed sex with me, accused me of selfishness, and laid out 3 ultimatums for our relationship to continue: moving in with me, having me drive him 2 hours daily to work, and agreeing to an open relationship. He is now drinking again and asserts that it was never a problem, despite previously acknowledging it as an issue. I feel like I have constantly tried to communicate and improve, while he shuts down or ghosts me and cultivates resentment. I am left questioning whether I am the problem, whether his behavior is manipulative, or if we are simply incompatible. I need assistance in determining if I am missing something or being gaslighted. Story 2. My girlfriend of 8 years, who once called me baby and loved cuddling, is now distant and unsure. I don't know if our problems are fixable. As she needs space but fears losing me, I'm left wondering, is love enough to bridge this emotional chasm? Hello. My girlfriend has become emotionally distant and is creating increasing separation between us. This situation makes me feel terrible because it seems as though she desires less interaction with me, and I am uncertain about how to manage this. It feels like nothing I do is sufficient, which is very disheartening. By shut down, I mean that she has stopped using affectionate terms like baby and babe and now rarely expresses "I love you," often only in response to my declarations. She no longer enjoys cuddling, despite physical affection always having been a significant part of our relationship. While she still texts me throughout the day and acknowledges me when we are home together, and we generally get along, our interactions feel more platonic than romantic. A bit of background about us: we have known each other for 8 years and were best friends before entering into a romantic relationship. She has a very young son, a toddler with a disability, from her previous marriage, and she now shares custody of him. As is typical, the early phase of our relationship was wonderful, but once I moved in, we began to establish each other's boundaries while also navigating how I fit into her son's life and the additional support he requires. We would argue every few weeks, partly due to the fact that we have her child every other weekend. On child-free weekends, we might argue, but we then have her son for the remainder of the week, making it difficult to have serious discussions to resolve our conflicts, as we do not want to address issues in front of him. This avoidance leads to problems remaining unresolved during calmer moments. By the time the next weekend without her son arrives, we are usually upset again about the same issues that we did not have the chance to discuss, resulting in a cyclical pattern. Furthermore, I work the night shift and she starts her mornings very early, which makes it challenging to have discussions, even after her son goes to bed. It is evident that this has been an unhealthy method of managing the issues we have faced because we have not achieved clear-headed conflict resolution. This past Sunday, I expressed how hurtful it is when she shuts me out. I understand she needs solitude and space, so I attempt to provide that for her. However, I never know when that space is over. I communicated that I strive not to take her rejection of cuddling or wanting to spend time alone personally, but it is challenging not to feel dismissed. I told her I do not want her need for space to turn into pushing me away. She acknowledged my feelings, expressing that it is difficult for her due to a multitude of frustrations, anxieties, and emotions she struggles to articulate, prompting her desire to be left alone without wanting to hurt my feelings by turning down my requests. She mentioned missing her independence at times, but also expressed that she does not want me to leave. She is unsure if our problems are resolvable and feels that they have persisted for too long. She fears that if we are arguing like this 1 year into our relationship, even though we have known each other for nearly a decade, what does that predict for 5 years down the line? I acknowledged my shortcomings in conflict resolution and expressed my desire for us to grow together in that area. I understand that we struggle to find time to address conflicts, but I want to make a genuine effort to improve. I mentioned that both of us had difficulties with my moving in, as we now need to establish each other's boundaries while also striving to protect ourselves. I genuinely believe we can work through these challenges because on the surface, they seem to stem from misunderstandings or a lack of clarification, transforming into a mountain from a molehill. She concluded the conversation by stating that she still loves me but does not know how to proceed, feeling overwhelmed and wanting to disengage emotionally. She offered me a hug and a kiss and playfully remarked that I am still her favorite kisser. We enjoyed the remainder of our weekend together, and although we have not had an argument since then now when I express my love for her or call her baby, I do not receive the same affectionate responses. Our relationship feels more like friendship than romance. I am uncertain about how to proceed from this point. I genuinely feel she is the love of my life, and we had previously discussed our desire to marry. Therefore, I do not wish to end our relationship, as I believe we both truly love one another. However, we find ourselves in a difficult situation that we do not know how to escape. I am not seeking to determine who is right or wrong in this scenario, but rather how we can overcome these issues irrespective of who is at fault. Should I cease trying to push our relationship forward? Am I applying too much pressure? Would it be beneficial for me to stay with a friend for a few days, allowing her some space to reset? I am struggling to cope with the feeling that she is pushing me away. I believe that if she wanted to break up, she would have already done so, but I am also concerned that if she continues to distance herself, it may lead to that outcome. I need constructive advice on how to cope with a partner who is overwhelmed and has emotionally withdrawn from me. In summary, my partner shuts down when feeling upset and overwhelmed, and I need assistance in navigating what actions to take.